We're in an era where, UAP are everywhere in the news. NASA just did a report and a press conference the other day, headed by NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. And, we hear the same refrain over and over again, whether it's from NASA, whether it's from the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW. The refrain is, we need more data. There's not enough data for these UAP. We've got to collect the data. We need more platforms. We need more everything so that we can actually figure out what we are dealing with. And it's really hard to argue against that. You want to have data. Of course, we want data. We want to be able to figure out what is this phenomenon that we are dealing with. But here's the problem with that. Every time I hear this refrain, I keep thinking, we've been dealing with this for 80 years. And are you telling me there's actually no data anywhere in the United States government, anywhere within the U.S. military, maybe some of the private contractors, no data, nowhere? For real, guys? I'm having a hard time believing that. And so, earlier today, I'm doing my own research, and I was once again in one of my most favorite websites, this one right here, the National UFO Reporting Center. I highly recommend this. This is run by Peter Davenport for many years. There's thousands and thousands and more thousands of UFO sightings at New Fork. And so I was there yet again earlier today. And, this is just one of many cases. You could almost say a throwaway case, but I read it. I went over it. I want to show it to you here. This is at the New Fork. In the New Fork site. Let's just scroll up. It's a 1973 case. I'm going to go over this with you. I'll have the link below. It's just one of a zillion cases that Peter Davenport has published over the years. It's really quite fascinating. And it speaks to this whole concept of data. Where can we get data? So it's about this ship right here. This is a U.S. Coast Guard cutter, the Spencer WHEC-36. It was, I think, commissioned in 1936, and it was retired shortly after the event that I'm about to describe to you. It was retired in 1974. So let's review an absolutely unidentified, unforgettable, utterly remarkable encounter by the United States Coast Guard with something in 1973. You start out with a seemingly ordinary night. It's about 11 o'clock, May 22nd. This is what the individual believes it was when he sent this report in to New Fork. May 22nd, 1973. You have the crew aboard the United States Coast Guard cutter Spencer WHEC-36. This is a 327-foot vessel. It was stationed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And, well, this ship and its crew experienced an event that would forever change the perceptions of everyone aboard, probably their perceptions of the entire universe. So the conditions were warm. The seas were calm. You have 140 men aboard the Spencer who are, about to witness something extraordinary, because suddenly you hear cries echoing throughout the ship. Come on deck. There's a UFO. Men come out on the deck. The writer of this account, one of them, seeing this mysterious object. It's got bright color changing lights. It's hovering above the ship. I cannot tell you how many times I go through these UFO reports, especially Navy or Coast Guard reports, people out at sea, and they say the same thing. This object, this thing is hovering directly above the ship. Now, I've been looking into USO accounts specifically. This is not a USO. That is, this is not an underwater, a submersible object, but it's pretty darn interesting. So it's above the ship. It's 11 o'clock at night. It seems that this object, at least to the witnesses, was examining them. It had a lot of colors that were illuminating the ship and the ocean around them. So it wasn't just hovering, actually. This object was demonstrating maneuvers far beyond anything that we're able to understand in terms of physics. It descends rapidly from great heights, it hovers, it rotates. It showed what appeared to be portholes, and then it ascended at an unbelievable speed. The object would then accelerate across the sky in a split second, making right angled turns, very sharp angles, as if it's putting on a show for the absolutely mesmerized audience below. So, one of the crew members was a skilled photographer. He's got state of the art equipment, including an Olympus camera with a telephoto lens. He captures this spectacle. He takes a lot of pictures. This is the 1970s, and he's clicking away. Meanwhile, there's messages detailing this sighting that are being sent immediately to Washington, D.C. The photographs that were taken, you can guess, were never saw the light of day, at least not in public. So the crew returns to their home port at Governor's Island, Yankee Pier. They would get a several-day furlough, meet with family and all that. This did not happen. They are not greeted by of any familiar faces of their loved ones. They are met by a group of what the writer described as these menacing men in black type people. No one was allowed to leave the ship. Instead, each crew member, 140 crew, interrogated, made to sign affidavits stating they had seen nothing and warning them against sharing their experience with anyone, especially with the media. The photographer's equipment, along with all of his pictures, those were confiscated without reimbursement. This chilling experience left the entire crew in fear, left them in silence. This entire extraordinary encounter with the unknown buried under threats and intimidation. After decades of silence, the story emerged by ending up at the National UFO Reporting Center back in 2010. It's a while ago. And I don't think anyone really paid attention to it when it came out there. Again, it is one of countless similar stories that are on that website. It's not always easy to hunt through it. There's not an easy index, but if you're dedicated, you can go through, you can find these cases. They are quite amazing. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess. I don't know what that thing exactly looked like other than what this writer described as, but I'll bet you those pictures were pretty good because they definitely generated a lot of interest by the so-called men in black, whoever these people were. Military intelligence, CIA, you take your guess, I'll take mine. But this was obviously something that was considered very important. Does that constitute data? Yes, of course it constitutes data. It's obviously constituting data. It may not be, they may not be telemetry. I don't know if they were tracking this on radar, getting the speed. But the fact is, there are countless radar trackings of these objects that did calculate their speed over many years. You can find these reports. They're in the New Fork site. They're on MUFON. They're in the declassified literature in many cases, where we know that instruments tracked these objects moving at many, many thousands of miles per hour, sometimes tens of thousands of miles per hour. So that's data. These photographs that were confiscated aboard the Coast Guard ship, that's data. It's not the data maybe that the folks at NASA were talking about, but it's data. And someone considered it very important to confiscate that data so that you and I would not get to see it. This is what we're dealing with. We have this, it's a constant game of pretend that is being played against us. The game of pretend, meaning we don't know anything about these UFOs, these UAP, but we're going to look into it and we'll get back to you. Science. Yeah, well, there's science and there's politics. There's science and there's cover-up. There's science and there is conspiracy. And, you're living in an era in which you are not supposed to believe in conspiracies and conspiracy theories. That's considered wrong. Can't do that. But the fact is, we live in a world of cover-ups. We live in a world, yes, of conspiracies. This case that I've just reviewed, it's a drop in the bucket. I could have selected many, many others, but you get what I mean. We need to have a much, much more honest conversation about what I continue to believe is the most important subject in our world. We've got all these things going on, but there is the presence of some high level of intelligence that is actively here, for which it is very important for them. And they appear to be everywhere. If that's not supremely important, then you're going to have to tell me what is, because that seems very important to me. Anyway, that's all I've got for you. Just wanted a quick little message. I hope everyone's doing great, and I will catch you all again real soon. Let's keep fighting the good fight.